And so we were together for 24 years, dating for 5, married for almost 20. And when he asked for a divorce, not only did like my whole world turn upside down, but this idea and this narrative that we were supposed to be together for the entirety of our lives was something that I had a really hard time letting go of.
Hey, babe, I'm Brooke Jean, licensed therapist, coach, mama, and your straight talking guide to ditching the pressure and living a life unperfected. I've coached some of the top C-suite women in America, women leading million-dollar companies while secretly falling apart. I've been her. I blend psychology, neuroscience, and energetics with lived experience to help high-achieving women actually heal so that they can access their limitless energy, creativity, and vitality. So if you're a perfection-obsessed woman who's checked every damn box, career, family, house, 401k, but still feels low-key dead inside, you're in the right place. Here, we rip off the good girl mask, call out the BS, and build a life that actually feels like yours. We're talking healing, we talk revealing, we talk rising, and we do it raw, real, and unfiltered. Hello, 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 my loves, and welcome back to the Unperfected Pod. I'm Brooke Jean, your host, and I was just taking a moment to reflect on this juicy conversation that I had with my friend, Olivia Horoshko, who I call Liv, earlier today for this show. My girl, who I met in the Life Mastermind a couple years ago, and we're both still in there, and she is one of those people that is just like an immediate soul connection. She makes me laugh so hard. But in my time of being in her world, she has gone through something that she points to and she calls the trifecta in our conversation today. A time where she lost her job, she lost her home, and she lost her marriage as part of this midlife shedding and awakening. So let me tell you a little bit about this queen. So Olivia is the founder of the Somatic Divorce Coach, where she helps women move through separation and divorce using body-based practices, breathwork, and nervous system regulation. After 25 years in corporate marketing, Olivia followed her long-time interest in alternative healing modalities, energetics, and spiritual practice into formal training as an advanced breathwork facilitator and somatic coach. When her own life shifted unexpectedly after her 24-year partnership ended, she experienced firsthand how the body holds what the mind can't yet process, and how the patterns we've carried since childhood often resurface in our most intimate relationships. That experience became the foundation of the Somatic Divorce Coach. Olivia now works with women from their earliest moments of separation through the longer arc of grief, anger, and release, offering body-based support that meets them where they are and helps them find relief, clarity, and a way forward. You guys, this is one of those honest conversations just about her experience with this trifecta. We talk about how, as perfectionists, we tend to stay longer because we are so afraid of failure and judgment. We talk about her dark night of the soul. We talk about the flags that are warning signs that maybe our marriage is no longer in alignment, and how the institution of marriage might not fit the modern day human needs. There's so many more things that we cover, but I think my favorite thing about this conversation is just how real and raw my girl is. And then because she's a somatic coach and an advanced energetics practitioner, she shares how these somatic tools really helped her navigate the liminal space. I know you guys are going to love this conversation.
Hey.
Oh my gosh. So we decided to hit record before the official start because we were having a conversation that I feel is absolutely resonant and needs to be said. Now, we are going to talk about midlife and divorce and like all those things. But what Liv and I were just discussing is how in midlife, every day there's a new effing development. AKA a wrinkle, a mole, a freckle getting bigger. What else would you add, Liv? What are the most triggering developments that are occurring in your life right now? Physically.
I mean, changing body shape constantly, right?
Yep.
Not being able to eat the foods that I used to eat. So waking up either being extremely bloated, not being bloated, circling back to the wrinkles, the vertical lines running above my lips right now that seemingly appeared out of nowhere, by the way. It truly is like one day you don't have it, the next day you do. Right?
Yeah. And I don't know how much God, Mother Nature, or the universe thinks I can take. But when I'm already like not sleeping great and my hormones are hormoning and my mental health is in the shitter and I hate my husband and now I'm gonna wake up to a 4-inch wrinkle from my double chin. Like, where am I being tested? Am I being tested?
Yeah, we're constantly being tested. I mean, I think there's the saying that God will only give you, or the universe will only give you as much as you can handle. And I feel like every single day I'm like, wait,
questioning that.
Yeah, can I handle this? Because I feel like my plate's already full. It's over capacity. God.
Yeah, God, haven't I met my quota of shit to deal with? Oh my God, Liv, I'm so excited to have you on the show. For the beautiful listeners, this is a gorgeous woman that I got to meet in the Life Mastermind. And I think the turning point for me in our relationship was when we were at the retreat and we were on the deck laughing about something together, and the way that you like mimicked it and did it, like we almost peed our pants laughing. And that's where I was like, oh, this is my homegirl for real.
Yeah.
But I am so excited to have you on the show. I'm so proud of you that you're in a place where you're ready to not only tell your story, but you're turning your mess into your magic, which is what Unperfected is all about. I love having real women in my life that are willing to talk about real hard shit without judgment, while also continuing to remind each other of like our power and the tools that we have, right? So let's get right in, because we don't do surface level stuff here on the Unperfected Pod. But you had a corporate background. You are a mother of 2, and you've recently gone through a divorce. And so let's start with your story a little bit, whatever you're comfortable sharing, and then how that led to the inspiration of your business and the beautiful work that you're doing in the world.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Are we ready for this?
Yeah, I'm like, where do we start? Shake it off. Let's do a somatic exercise to start. Yes, Queen. We're so ready for this.
All right. Well, I'm just going to dive in and you interject.
Okay.
So grew up, only child. I think that's important context as we kind of dive further into my history and the work that I'm doing today. Grew up in lack and scarcity, so we talk a lot about patterns and then how that shows up in our adult relationships. And I was the only person to go to college out of both sides of my parents' families. And so when I graduated college, I went into the corporate world. That's what the gig was when we were
promise, right? You go to college, you get the corporate job, you get your safety and your stability. Where did you grow up?
Denver.
What? Okay, I know you've told me this before, and of course I didn't retain that piece of information because perimenopause. But you did grow up here in Denver, babe.
Yep.
Okay, so Denver, only child, went to college and started the corporate. And was your first corporate job here in Denver, or where did you go?
It was in Denver. It was for a large advertising agency called Ogilvy, which still exists today. Okay. And I always intuitively knew that I wasn't going to stay in Denver. I wasn't going to stay in Colorado, and I was going to live by the ocean. So there was an opportunity that came up to move to San Francisco to transfer offices. I took it. I went. I never looked back. And as part of my story, I knew intuitively as a young girl that I was going to meet the man I was going to marry in Paris.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, you and I have never talked about this. I said it when I was 4 or 5 years old. I was
What?
boys.
4 or 5 years old.
Said it to my mom. My mom was like, okay, because again, context, grew up in lack and scarcity. We didn't have money to travel. If we were able to do anything, it was a road trip to California to see my grandmother. My parents had never been out of the country. So Paris wasn't even something that was on my radar. I didn't even know what that meant. And then lo and behold, I moved to San Francisco. I go on a trip to Paris one summer. I was 25 years old. And there was my ex-husband, my now ex-husband.
What?
Yeah. So
Oh my
in
God.
my mind, it was like this beautifully orchestrated divine love story, which of course it was.
Yep.
And I thought it was a love story that was supposed to last this entire lifetime.
Yeah.
And so we were together for 24 years, dating for 5, married for almost 20. And when he asked for a divorce, not only did like my whole world turn upside down, but this idea and this narrative that we were supposed to be together for the entirety of our lives was something that I had a really hard time letting go of.
Yeah,
And
it almost feels like the grief of the dream feels just as big as the grief of, the divorce, the family unit, all of it. Because
Right.
you had claimed this since you were 4 or 5, and then you like straight up manifested it. And you're with this person forever, right? 20 plus years is forever in today's world. And now, okay, so what led up to that point, honey, where he came to you and wanted the divorce?
So we had been growing apart for a while.
Okay.
So on one hand, it wasn't a surprise that he was ready for that next step. And then on the other hand, the duality, as we talk about all the time, right, was that, well, wait a minute, you're supposed to be my person. And it would take years of therapy and somatic work and breath work for me to understand that he is a soulmate, not the soulmate. But that was like the switch that I had to make in my mind. So even though I knew that we weren't really aligned in the ways that we needed to be aligned in anymore to have a successful marriage and a successful partnership, I was still struggling with the idea of no longer being together and no longer having him be my person.
So, what were some of those signs, and what age were you? Because I do feel like midlife is this portal where we step into more of the truth of who we are. And wait, had you left corporate America yet when he came
Yeah.
and said that? So you were already stepping into the truth of who you are. You're leaving corporate America. You're going to follow your dreams, right? So you were already in that like shedding.
Yep.
And then here comes this.
Yep. You're right. I remember my healer saying to me that I was in a trifecta at that point in time. I had been laid off from corporate America. And actually, before I got laid off, I had a job opportunity in Boca Raton, Florida, to be VP of marketing for a very well-known fitness brand. At the time, we were still together, but we were struggling. And we felt like moving across the country wasn't the right idea, not so much because of our relationship, but because of the financial aspects of it. So I'd passed up on this job, even though I intuitively, going back to the intuition, knew that I was going to get laid off because at my current employer at the time, business was bad. So a couple months after I passed on that job, I had been laid off. And because I had been laid off, and at the time my ex-husband had also been laid off from his job, we were forced to sell our house. So here we were, forced to sell the house that our children had grown up in. I had just lost my job. And now my husband was asking for a divorce. And so she said to me, when you're in a trifecta like that, you know that the universe is ripping off the Band-Aid so you can start to become the person that you're meant to be and start walking the path that you're meant to be.
Okay, so even though you knew that information, what was really going on in your body, your heart, subconsciously, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's great information to know when you're
Mm-hmm.
in the like post-traumatic growth
Yeah.
period. But
Yeah.
when you're in the middle of the storm of the trifecta, girl, like your entire world just came undone.
My
All
entire world.
safety and security, financial,
Everything.
job, home, partner, and you're a mother of two. How old were
Mm-hmm.
your girls then, babe?
They were, let's see, 11,
Mm, mm,
11 and 15.
wow.
And to layer onto that, going back to context, I'm an only child. So my ex-husband's family had been my family for 24 years.
Yeah.
So not only was my entire world flipping upside down, that piece of my world was also flipping upside down. And as an only child today, at that point, my dad had already passed, and my mom is the only person in my family who's still alive. So it's literally just me and my mom. So I had to grieve all of that you mentioned and the loss of my ex-husband's family. And I think that that's one of the most important things for us to remember as women, especially those of us who are perfectionists, is that divorce is messy. It's a death. And over the past 2.5 years, I went on a major journey of the dark night of the soul. There were points in time as a somatic coach myself and as an advanced breathwork facilitator that I felt like I wasn't going to make it. Where my community of women had to literally come and pick me up off of the floor.
Okay.
And going
Can you
back,
tell us a little more about that time period, honey? Like what
yeah.
that was actually real, like what was that really like?
It was hard. It was hard.
Yeah.
And with so many of my clients, I like to share that the first, I believe, 6 to 12 months of the separation period or the divorce process, because in some states there isn't an actual separation period, is really about your system being in shock. I think for the first 6 months, I walked around like a zombie. My mind felt foggy. I was already in menopause at that point. I went through perimenopause in my early to mid 40s. I was full-blown menopause before the divorce and the separation even started to happen.
Wow.
So the brain fog went from like this much to this much. I felt like I was constantly in survival mode, on red alert, triggered by anything and everything that was happening with my ex, any text, any email, any interaction of having to transition the kids. I couldn't sleep, right? So again, already we're dealing with the effects of perimenopause and menopause as it relates to sleep disruption, and then you layer on something like this on top of it. I kept replaying all of the different things that I could have done differently in my mind, right? So you start to, the grief starts to kick in. So you're like in shock, and you're experiencing grief, and you're experiencing anger, you're experiencing all the things. And I want to say this because I think it's so important to name the system of divorce, especially as a parent, is not set up for grief. You are expected to move from having an intimate partner for however many years of your life and having that person be your person to flipping a light switch and treating them like a business partner.
Oof.
And being able to be neutral.
Whoa.
It's not possible.
It doesn't register to the body.
No, not at all. So you can have like logical, like, okay, I guess that makes sense logically, but when trauma's living in the body, as you and I both know, it's not possible.
It's clouding everything.
Yep.
Okay, so he comes to you and he says, I want this divorce. You are going through the dark night of the soul. Where and how do you find the healing tool that is somatic work, and how did that play a role in that process?
Yeah. So everything is so divinely guided and orchestrated. So when I passed up on that job in Boca Raton, Florida, our mentor, walked into my life. Actually, I had met her 6 years previously when she was doing a different business.
Wow. Okay.
And then we had always stayed in touch on Instagram, and I saw that she was doing breath work, and I jumped on one of her free challenges. And it was a 3-day challenge, and within one day I was like, oh my gosh, this is so powerful. I feel so different. The next thing I knew, I signed up to become a breathwork facilitator. I had no idea what I was doing. All I knew was that I was meant to be there.
Wow.
And as she shares with us, and I believe it, and I know you believe it too, you cannot really take people to places that you haven't gone to yourself.
Yeah.
And so the first 3 months of that program is doing the work on yourself. And all of a sudden I had this tool where I could move energy and I could find forward movement in a sustainable way, rather than like other healing modalities that I had tried where I was 2 steps forward and 1 step backwards. And so as I was starting to move through getting laid off and having to sell the house and the, announcement of wanting to get divorced, I thought to myself, gosh, I could really use this tool and I could start to help women in midlife moving through all the things.
Yeah.
Well, then as the separation process ensued and I started to go through the dark night of the soul, I thought, you know what? I think actually my purpose is to help women moving through divorce. And so even though you and I had been exposed and continue to be exposed to all of the somatic tools and practices, I wanted to get my somatic coaching certification. And so that's what led me to getting certified as a somatic coach. Breathwork is still a main part of my practice, the main way that I help clients move energy. And that's where I am today. So I started, all things midlife into coming in specifically to divorce.
Wow, honey. So how do you believe, because there might be listeners that have never heard of somatic work, somatic healing, somatic coaching, or even what are the benefits of breath work? So for you specifically, how did those tools help you in those contractions of, I feel like my entire life is turned upside down and I have no idea where I'm going to land. And my nervous system is freaking the fuck out because none of this feels safe or okay. So let's talk about how breath work and somatic work helped you, and maybe in that you can educate us a little bit on what the F it is.
Yeah, you bet. So oftentimes we're up here in our minds, right? As you know, and we're swimming around the same neural pathways. And for me, that has probably been one of the biggest challenges of my life, as also someone who has ADHD. It's really easy for me to get stuck in loops. And so when breathwork first walked into my life, I learned right away that trauma, the experiences that we go through, are actually living in the body. They're living at a cellular level, like in your tissue. And as I went through my healing process, and even still today, I'll have a memory come up and I can literally feel it releasing from my system. And it's not up here, it's down here. So even with breath work alone, if we were just to isolate breath work, what happens when you're able to go into the body is that it moves the energy around, right? And as you start to move the energy around it finds those ruptures, it finds those pockets of experiences that we've had. And it allows you to alchemize them, right? It allows you to metabolize them. And as you start to do it, your brainstem starts to relax. And then your brain relaxes as well. And then you're able to unwire different patterns and belief systems and neural pathways that you've created. And it opens up space to rewire it. So I think if there's one takeaway from how does somatic healing or how does breath work, it's that if you go into the body first, where the trauma is actually living, with certain tools like breath work or other somatic experiencing tools, your mind will actually follow, rather than going from the mind and trying then to go into the body, if that makes sense.
It does. And so what is somatic work? Give us an example as it pertains to either perfectionism and divorce or whatever is fresh. How does somatic experiencing work?
Yeah. So anytime that I'm working with myself or with a client, the foundation is that your body always knows. So when I am a guide, it is my job to attune to your system and for us to work with whatever is coming forward. So if I was working with a client or if I'm working with myself, it's as easy as just dropping into the body. So let's say that I just got a triggering email from my ex-husband. This happened on Thursday.
Okay.
I shut my computer and I closed my eyes and I took a deep breath in through my nose and out through my mouth. And just allowed my awareness to drop into my body. And then I noticed the first place that was lighting up in my body. And right now, to bring it into the present moment, it's right here in my chest, which I don't know if you can see, but just I'm really pointing right here to my heart space. And then, just asking myself, like, well, what's there right now? What's alive right there? And in that moment when I got that email, it was just this at first it was anger and then it was sadness. Sadness to get that kind of message. And then there was this moment of saying, okay, well, I'm experiencing sadness right now. I am not the sadness. Which I think is a really big unlock. We are not the emotions that we experience.
Yeah.
And so even just that little bit helped release that sensation that I was feeling, helped release the anger to know that there was actually sadness underneath it. And then you can go deeper and deeper and deeper, and you just let the body guide you where it wants to guide you.
Yeah. One of the things that I think people don't know is that just by bringing your awareness to the physiological sensation in the body, which is the feeling, it changes it. It liberates some of it. And I don't know exactly what the science is behind that, but when people come and how do you actually feel your feelings? They're a little disappointed when I tell them the process, which is just drop out of your head into your body, locate it, find it, breathe into it, and then move it through you. And by doing that, no thinking though, honey. We're not thinking when we're feeling. That's the problem, is you wanna go on, and I get it. But if you actually just bring your awareness to where in the body you're feeling it, and you don't I don't have to fix it, right? There's nothing to fix. Let me just be with it. Then you breathe or cry or do whatever, it starts to dissipate.
Yes.
And that's how you process and metabolize emotion.
Yes, absolutely. We're not fixing anything.
Yeah.
And I think it's in the not fixing that we actually heal ourselves.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, it's in the enoughness. In the enoughness, we can actually move forward. Not from a place of I'm broken, I'm wounded, I'm traumatized, I'm depressed. And I love that you pointed to it's really big and empowering to say I'm experiencing sadness versus I'm sad, because when you say I'm sad, you're identifying with it.
Yes.
And again, bringing that cerebral brain in, that's how we can get stuck. It's I'm experiencing the depression. The depression is making its entrance again, but nothing is permanent. Everything is temporary, and feelings just need to be acknowledged. And somatic work really teaches you how to do that with a safe guide who's been trained on how to guide you through that.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that why somatics, and I'd love to get your take on this as well. When I went through my own journey, and even though I'm on the other side of it, there's still things that, there's still memories, like I said earlier, that are releasing from my system that will surprise me. There are still triggers that happened last week. It's not a linear process, right? And I was very blessed to have a therapist who understood the power of layering on somatics to my talk therapy, just like you. Yeah. And so when she would present ideas such as he was a soulmate, not the soulmate, I was able, like, even in her office to drop into that, like, whoa, right? It's a big unlock. And like, how does that feel in my body? And it allowed me to start the process of how do you embody that? How do you find peace with that? It's not up here in the mind. It's actually like in your body. And it wasn't instantaneous in that session. You know, it's taken me 2.5 years to get to that point where I'm like, okay, you know, he is a soulmate. He is hugely important in my life. He's an amazing father. I'm so grateful that I created this beautiful family with him. And now how do I open myself up to possibility outside of that relationship?
Yes. And so here, I want to segue a little bit here because I believe that the perfectionist in us fights for the thing, whether it's the job we're no longer passionate about, the marriage that's dead, because of fear of failure, judgment, affecting other people, all the things. So I would love to hear your take on, like, why do we stay if we intuitively know? And like, what are some of the somatic signs that we're abandoning ourselves and our truth so that we can keep that image of a perfect marriage, a perfect family, a soulmate, whatever it is?
Yeah. Oh. I felt all of those things and more. So kind of jumping off of the narrative that I had created that he was my only soulmate, there was absolutely the fear of failure, the fear of judgment from our community and from the friends that we had established together over the course of 24 years. And I think as a mother, I think like inherently in our DNA is this, I don't even know what like the right word is, but we will do anything for our kids.
Yeah.
We will stay in an unhealthy relationship or even a healthy relationship that's not aligned anymore because we don't want to break apart our family. Yes. I'm a product of divorce. My ex-husband's a product of divorce. I don't think either one of us wanted that for our kids. And so I remember saying to myself, even today, sometimes I'll say to myself, you know what, we could have made it work, because you watch what your kids go through and you see them experience pain. And at the same time, I think one of the things, and then I'll go back to your initial question on like what were some of the somatic signs, but I think one of the things that has really helped me through this process is my own belief system that I chose my parents because I wanted to experience divorce. That was part of my journey. My daughters also chose us as parents because that was part of their journey, right? There are lessons, there's resilience, there's expanding their vessels to hold capacity, like we talked about at the beginning of this call, right? Because life is messy. Pain is a given, right? Yeah. And so as I think about probably the last, I would say 5 to 6 years of our marriage, when I really started noticing us growing apart, I think somatically for me was just this like ongoing level of cortisol in my system all the time, like feeling like I was constantly in like fight or flight, And I feel, so it was showing up in my body, like it was showing up physically every single day.
Yeah.
Right? And then I think also like just even in conversation, when you're sitting in a conversation and you don't feel like there's even alignment on the simplest things. Yeah. You can feel that in your body. It's like a contraction. You're like, wait a minute, this person used to be my person. We could talk about anything and everything for hours. And now when I go to him and I'm excited with something and it's sort of like there's a wall up, unintentionally.
Yep.
There's just a wall that's been built between us. Then it's like, wow, you feel that contraction in your body. Your body knows everything All the answers that we want are here. So I would say if you are someone that is moving through divorce right now, separation, or perhaps like contemplating the end of a relationship, if you are feeling contractions in your body, that is your source of truth, always.
And what does a contraction in your body mean for someone who doesn't have that language, the somatic work? Is it anxiety? Is it a tight chest? Is it diarrhea? Like, what's happening?
All of the above.
What's
All of
happening?
the above. For me, an extended stomach constantly, like going back to the cortisol. How did that show up in my body? What's the word? Distended stomach. Like when going back to the days when I was pregnant, right? Constantly. I felt like I walked around with that for years. My gut has always been the source of truth for me in my life, even outside of my marriage. And so I would say anytime I would feel like that, in your gut, for me, 100%. So again, just it can feel like the tightness in the chest, the brain fog, the lack of sleep. Your partner says something to you and you're like, right?
Actually, everything they say, you're like, and that's also triggering. Why is everything you're saying
Triggering.
not correct for me? Well, and
That's
people
a sign.
it's the energy too, you guys. Like,
Yes.
I try to explain this to my husband right now, and Liv, that we're going through a hard time, and I'm like, my first language is energy. So I can feel in your energy that you don't like me that much right now. I can feel when I'm telling you something that I'm excited about, and you're sitting there and your eyes are just getting bigger and you got like nothing back. I'm like, that doesn't feel good. So you can tell me with your words that you love me and you want this to work, but your energy is saying, get the fuck away from me. And so is mine. Like, I don't know how to describe that other than it's a felt sense that is undeniable, and it gets louder and louder until you address it. But the problem is that men, and not all men, their first language isn't energy.
True.
And so they're just like, what do you mean? And I'm like, what do you mean? What do I mean? Yeah. And so it's a felt sense. But I also want to double click on the growing apart thing.
Yeah.
Because this is so relatable. So what did that look like for you and your partner when you started noticing we're growing apart in everyday senses? What did that look like? What did that mean for you?
I think that where we were always strong when other things were moving up and down was our emotional connection and our ability to really connect with a lot of commonalities. And so I think for me, and I can only speak for myself, when I realized that maybe we were in trouble and that it wasn't fixable, was when that emotional connection started to fall apart. So for example, exactly what you just said, when I would come home and want to share something exciting and he couldn't relate to it. One of the things, as an example, that really started to drive a wedge between us was my interest in breathwork, my interest in somatic coaching, my interest in spirituality. That had actually been what I call a fault line in our marriage from the beginning. And in fact, I'm in the process of writing my first book right now, which is all about what I call fault lines that we have from our childhood, that were unhealed experiences, belief systems, values, whether it was from our parents or our communities or our culture, that pretty much lay dormant until you go into your adult life and they show up in things like a marriage. And there's fault lines on both sides. But what I really started to see is like the pieces of the puzzle coming together, where it was like having grown up in lack and scarcity, my father abandoning me emotionally when I was in my teenage years, and then physically abandoning me and my mom, which then led to an abusive relationship, which then led to feeling like I wasn't enough, which then led to me over-indexing as a perfectionist, right? And thinking, I never want to feel that way again, so I'm going to control everything around me, right? And so all of these different things from my childhood started to weave into my marriage, including my spiritual belief system. And my ex-husband is an atheist. And I always thought, oh, we can make this work. People make different, values and belief systems work in partnerships all the time. But eventually it just started to drive more of a wedge between us because it was such a part of my daily life. Not because of him, but because it was so important to me.
Well, yeah, it's so important to you and your journey with like somatic work. And then you can't bring them with you on that journey because there's like a disinterest or a misunderstanding, which then feels like a judgment or whatever.
Yes.
So I think the spirituality difference is really significant. It's not that you can't make it work, but it's hard, especially if it's a presence every day in your life like it is for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you were curious about some different things. The spirituality was different. Anything else that you remember was like, oh shit, we're growing apart? Oh, you said the emotional connection.
The emotional connection.
Yeah.
We just started, I felt like we were so good always as a family unit, and spending time together and doing fun activities with the girls, even if it meant just coming together and having dinner and playing games on Sunday nights, right? So we were very proactive and cognizant about our family unit and our experiences together. We were also really good about that as a couple until we started to grow apart and our interests went in separate directions. And so I also noticed over the last 5 to 6 years that we were no longer spending time together, just him and I. And when we would go out on a date or try and do something together, just the two of us, there wasn't a lot to talk about anymore because, again, our interests were so different. And it was one of those, I think, just experiences for me as I look back, again, it was like, he's a great man, right? And so I think a lot of us women in partnership and long-term partnerships think, well, this person's a great man.
Yeah.
Right? And so like, am I overthinking this? Is this, can we make this work? Like, I need to make this work, right? Because this is a great person in front of me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think financials and it's not that bad. So
Yes.
to leave and go pursue the relation, like just my independence, my freedom, and then maybe a relationship that, is just a completely different one. Especially if there's no trauma or abuse, obviously that's a completely different context. But I think the financial situation and then the like, who am I to like break up, quote unquote, break up my family, even though we're still a family unit, it feels like such a wrong thing to do to quote, break up your family. And the perfectionist just like clings to that label. But it's not a breaking up of a family. The family is still there. It's just how we relate is different. How we live is different. But you and your ex and your girl, you're still a family. We didn't break anything, right?
Correct. We will always be a family unit. It's me and my ex-husband are always going to be our daughter's family. Exactly. And you're right. It just looks different and we relate to each other different. And I think you nailed it. So many of us stay in relationships because we say it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And there's a beautiful book called Broken Open by Elizabeth Lesser. Have you ever read that book?
No.
It's
I'm gonna write that shit down.
Yeah, write it down. It's about the dark night of the soul.
Okay, love that.
I would say probably about like a solid third of it is her story around divorce. And then there's also other stories in there from her life and other people's lives.
Yeah.
But our couples therapist at the time, before we got separated, had recommended that I read that book. And in the first chapter about marriage, and this was back before cell phones, the author was visiting a friend in New Mexico, and she went to go see a psychic. And at the time, we just had, physical maps. So the address was written down for her. She had a physical map. She showed up in a trailer park, and it was like the very last trailer. And this woman opens the door, and she's got I think if I'm remembering correctly, a beehive, and it's she just walks straight out of the 60s, and she tells the author, Elizabeth, to come inside. And she sits down and she said, "You have a letter for me in your purse?" And she was like, "No, I don't." She said, "Yes, you do." And they argued about it. And then she was like, "Oh, what do you mean, this letter?" And she was like, "Yes, that's the one that I'm talking about." And it was a letter that Elizabeth had written about whether or not she should go or stay in her marriage. And I'll never forget that the psychic said to her, "Well, you're asking the wrong question. It's not whether about you should stay married or you should not stay married. It's about, what did you come here to learn? What is your purpose on this planet? That is the question that you're answering."
Whoa.
Right? So profound.
Whoa.
So profound. And then they go on to have a little bit more of a discussion. And then the psychic finally said, "So I'm going to tell you right now, you're not supposed to stay married to him. And the person you're actually supposed to be married to is named Tom."
Whoa.
And she was like, "Well, I'm with the Tom right now." She was actually having an affair.
Oh my God.
The psychic said, "No, it's not him. Not that Tom." And lo and behold, she would go on to get divorced, end her affair with that Tom, and her now husband is named Tom.
Whoa, that is so juicy and intense. What are you here to learn? That feels like I'm gonna need a minute to digest that mofo.
Sorry. It is. It's huge.
Because it's should I stay or should I go? And what's the right thing to do? But when you zoom out and you look at the bigger picture and you remember that you're just a soul with a meat suit on, it's what am I here to learn and experience? It's not this little bitty context. It's so much bigger. And that can be both liberating and overwhelming, but it can certainly get you unstuck from the mental loop of, is it bad enough for me to leave? Is it bad enough for me to leave? All of that. And that this is why I personally believe in multiple soul mates, because I do believe each person comes into your life to mirror for you a remembrance that your soul then wakes up and remembers that, so if you're going through a divorce and you meet someone and they light you up and they turn on your sexuality. No, it's not always that you need to end up with that person. Sometimes that person came into your life to remember that you're a sexual creature, honey, and you still have it. You still have it. And we need to gather that truth for the next one, right? And it's just so hard because, we live in a system that has taught us these things. And I know you and I both value family. Yeah. And so it's really confusing when you're brought up in this good girl system and you value family to even allow yourself to question something like this.
Yeah.
Feels fucking selfish.
It does.
But
it
it's actually not, because by you living your truth and following your bliss, what we are teaching our sons and daughters, even though there's pain, is that they're worthy of that too. Yeah. They're worthy of more or different or a change. We're not stuck. I think sometimes I feel like half the problem with marriages is that we feel stuck when our nature is to keep evolving and growing. But we feel trapped by the actual title or whatever that is of marriage. It's intense.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I think that that was one of the things that drove us apart as well. When two people are in a partnership and one is interested and curious about growing, evolving, and expanding, and the other one isn't, and neither is right or wrong, it's just different viewpoints, that also can drive a wedge between two people. And I think culturally, and I'm probably going to make a statement here that is going to be controversial, but I think the institution of marriage is outdated. I do. Yeah. Right? When the institution of marriage was created, we were living to be 30 and 40 years old, and it was about physical and financial survival, not about love. Our modern society made it about love. And so is it even possible to have a 50 or 60-year marriage nowadays? I don't know. I don't know. Like, will our daughters, our collective daughters, have one marriage? Will they have 3 marriages? Will they even get married? What will the system look like for them?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they're not as in a hurry to get married and have babies. I'll tell you that right now. And I'm like, yeah, that's definitely okay. But I feel like the question that tinkers around in my mind and probably therefore does a lot of women is, how do you know how much work to put in to the marriage because it's worth the investment versus leaving? Because what we're not saying here is get married and divorce, get married and divorce, get married and divorce, 100%. And don't give a shit.
100%.
Like, if you're going to get married, go all in on your marriage until you can't. Like, I believe in that. But it's just like, to what degree? And so that's where I layer in the, well, how much are we self-abandoning? How much am I not being myself anymore? How much am I not sharing of myself? How much do I not feel seen? How much do I not feel desired? How much do I not feel appreciated? Where am I, shrinking? And that's the stuff to focus on versus, have I done enough yet?
Yep, 100%. Because we're never going to know the answer to have I done enough. I still question that.
And it's so scary.
It's so scary. And I feel like my ex-husband and I, we did put in a lot of work.
Yeah.
We did try. Are there always things that we could have done on top of that? 100%. But to your point, at the end of the day, I don't think we were fundamentally in alignment anymore, right? As partners. And we probably, also to your point, had abandoned ourselves in those last couple of years trying to save something that inherently wasn't meant to be saved anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That it's okay when you know in your gut it's not in alignment anymore.
Yes.
You don't have to keep abandoning yourself to make it fit. Because it's only temporary, honey, until the next trigger comes around, and then the whole file of all the stuff, right, comes out. Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like people are gonna, like, our kids are gonna be more mindful about choosing, like, whether or not they even want to engage in something like marriage.
Yeah.
And redefining what love and intimacy and intimate relationships looks like. And I think for the people that are, really holding on to the old structures, and for good reason, I understand it. I think we also have to evolve. Like, it just, like you said, it doesn't make, like, for me, like, being with someone for 100 years, like, genuinely how, without abandoning yourself and settling.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not open to it, but I'm genuinely with just, like, seeing people through their phases of life, of, like, young and fun, and then, being in the dog days of parenthood, and then perimenopause, and just how, like, men aren't, like, they don't know how to show up. And like, I know people say you can grow together, but I'm like, again, like, to what degree? Like, how much work do you need to put in to make that happen? And how much are you abandoning yourself in that process?
Yeah. Absolutely.
A lot.
A lot, because I think, and listen, I believe in marriage. I would actually love to get married again.
Yeah.
I'm the only one in my friend group who would like to get married again.
Really?
My other divorced friends would like to be in partnership, but they don't actually have a desire to get married again. So it's not that I don't believe in the power of partnership and marriage. I think it's a belief in the question that you just raised. If two individuals aren't growing together in the same direction, which I feel like is almost impossible,
Literally.
right? Then
Yeah.
how does a marriage survive? I don't know. The 40 to 50 to 60 years.
Yeah, and I feel like the older we get, the less I need to be like understood. Like I just want my space. Like I just want to be the beast that I am. I don't want to explain to you why. I don't need you analyzing my shit. I'm a good mom. I'm a business owner, and like let's go have fun together. Otherwise, take a hike. But we're not having any fun together, and you're up my butthole 24/7, and like this is what's happening. And then we are going through things hormonally as women where I just have like less tolerance of you being up my butthole than ever before, and this is where we're just like, what are we doing?
Yes.
What are we doing?
Yeah. And that's exactly where my girlfriends who don't want to get married again are coming from.
Yeah.
They would love to live in their own separate spaces.
Yeah.
And then
Amen.
they are still open to being in partnership with someone, but like having it more about dating each other.
Yes.
And not living together 24 hours, 7 days a week, watching each other, go to the bathroom and doing all the things that we don't want to see anymore. Right?
Yeah, don't get me started on the list of those things. Don't get me started. Oh my God, my love. Well, I feel like we could go on and on and on about this conversation, but tell the beautiful listeners where they can connect with you. If you have a resource or something they can grab, we'll link it, but you can tell us about that. How can they work with you and continue to watch your beautiful journey?
Oh. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And I agree, we could go on about this subject, so maybe we need to do a round two.
Literally.
And then in terms of working with me, so my practice is called the Somatic Divorce Coach. So the somaticdivorcecoach.com is where you can find me. Also, same handle on Instagram. And there are so many different ways to work with me. First of all, I have a free guide that talks about the shock of separation. So going back to our earlier conversation around how I felt frozen for at least the first 6 months, likely the first year of my separation, I walk you through why that's happening in your body, a breathwork style that you can do on your own, and then 5 different scenarios with simple somatic exercises that you can do anytime, anywhere you're feeling like you're in a brain fog or you can't sleep or your space feels different, right?
Love that.
So definitely anybody that's listening that needs some help on that front, please go to my website or Instagram and download the free guide. I think it's super helpful. I also have downloadable audio practices. You can book a 1-to-1 session with me. I also do 4-week resets and then 3-month coaching programs. So a variety of different ways that I can support women who are moving through divorce, hopefully with more ease and grace and more effectively than I even moved through mine, which is my goal.
Yeah, and really tending to the whole system as you move through the portal of divorce. Not just your thinking brain, but your subconscious, your body, your energy field. When you bring the whole system with you, you're not leaving parts behind, and then that's kind of showing up in life in the next thing. So definitely grab that freebie, you guys. And Liv, I love you so much, girl. Thank you for coming and being vulnerable. Like, divorce is a big topic midlife, and as women we need to have safe places to talk about it and tools to really help us navigate that period, whether we're staying or we're going and we're working on it or we're not. These somatic tools can help everybody wherever they are in the journey. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you. And to the beautiful listener, thank you for being here, and I will see you guys same time, same place next week. Bye for now. Hey babe, if you made it this far, I know you're serious about taking action and creating a life you actually love. Just by showing up, you're telling yourself and the universe, I matter. I'm ready. Let's go. So don't be surprised if things start shifting in your favor. If this episode moved you, do me a favor. Follow, rate, and review the show on Apple or Spotify, and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Brooke Jean Unperfected. It helps us reach more women, more mamas who are ready to do this work. And if something really landed, DM me on Instagram at Brooke Jean Unperfected or share a clip and tag me. I want to see what's moving through you and continue to support your journey. And hey, make sure you download my free guide, Get Unstuck. 5 therapeutic steps to take aligned action. All the links are in the show notes, and let's get you moving.